в рамках курсу лекції «Лідерство і міжнародні комунікації» сьогодні у нас високий гість. Зустріч відбувається онлайн, це цілий телеміст, пан посол з резиденції на Ярославому Валу, ми з аудиторій нашої красивої, дистанційної, університетської, студентство з різних куточків нашої держави, тому що країна сьогодні знаходиться в стані війни, а я телемостом прямо з Італії. Тому прямо зараз ми з вами всі зустрінемося разом і будемо говорити про дипломатичні стосунки України і Італії. Ciao, buongiorno.
Buongiorno, tutto bene?
Buongiorno. Bene, grazie. Ambassador, today I am pleasure to welcome you at our meeting with the Leadership and International Communication course. So, dear students, to meet Mr. Frančesco Dzadzo, Ambassador Extraordinary of the Italy Republic to Ukraine. So, Mr. Ambassador, we give you the floor.
Okay, good. Yes, no, thanks a lot. Today, I really thank you very much for your invitation. I would like to have with you a very informal exchange of view. If you agree, I just will say a few words and then I give a floor to your questions, and probably the students are very interested to know more. Let me start by saying that Italy and Ukraine enjoy an excellent bilateral relationship in all fields, because since February 24, Italy immediately condemned this unjustified, unprovoked Russian aggression, and we have since then always provided you the maximum support in all fields, at political, diplomatic level, in the economic, financial field. We provided military aid, financial assistance, humanitarian aid. Besides, as you know, we also have over 170,000 Ukrainian refugees in Italy. And it will continue. As you know, we had now the political elections just 1 week ago, and also the new government will continue to provide full support to Ukraine. Let me say a few words about our support at political level. We have always underlined Italy full support to the territorial integrity and full sovereignty of Ukraine. We have always condemned Russian invasion. We have always reiterated our full support to the sanctions regime. As you know, the European Union has approved 7 packages of sanctions. Now the 8th package will be soon approved. On this regard, I would like to underline that Italy has done a lot. For example, we have freezed the assets of Russian oligarchs, having villas, yachts in Italy, more than $2 billion, if I'm correct, if I remember correctly. We have strongly reduced our dependency upon Russian gas. Before the war, our dependency upon Russian gas was 40% of our imports, total imports of gas. Now it's only 15%, and we foresee to become completely independent, not to depend anymore on Russian gas in 2024. And therefore we have signed, our government has signed many agreements with other countries, with Azerbaijan, with Qatar, Algeria, many other African countries, to reduce this dependency of gas. We've all given our full support to sanctions. We very much emphasize the importance within the European Union to use a price cap on the price of oil and gas, because this would reduce the values of exports to Russia. And as you know, with the imports of with the revenues of gas, Russia is financing its military expenses, and therefore it's very important in our view to introduce a price cap. We are providing substantial financial aid. We have done it in the framework of G7. As you know, Italy is a member state of G7. In the framework of the European Union, we have provided, as you probably know, announced a financial contribution for the European Union of the amount is 9 billion euro. Besides, we are always supporting all decisions taken by the international financial institution, the Monetary Fund, the World Bank, the European Banking, the European Banking Investment, the BRD, to provide financial assistance to Ukraine. Italy wants to play an important role in the effort in the reconstruction of Ukraine when the war will end. There was a conference, as you know, in Lugano, and there will be a conference at the end of October in Berlin, and Italy is ready to play an important role. But I would like especially to emphasize the important role our government and especially our Prime Minister, current Prime Minister Draghi, has played in convincing on the main European member states to grant to Ukraine the status of candidate country to the European Union. Italy played a very important role in convincing France, Germany, and the other main European Union countries in the decision which was taken, which the European Council took to accept to give Ukraine, Kiev, the status of candidate. So it means that this is a very important step, because sooner or later Ukraine will become a member of the European Union, and Italy is a strong supporter of this integration of Ukraine in the European market, and therefore the Ukrainian authorities are very grateful to Italy, and it will not change with the new government. I would also like to underline that we are providing aid in the military, field, and the humanitarian aid. Humanitarian aid is very important. We do have now many NGOs, the Italian Red Cross, the Civil Protection, Italian Civil Protection, and we organized many humanitarian convoys. There are many humanitarian programs carried out by Italian NGOs, and we will continue to do this. And finally, as I mentioned before, we are very generous, in my view. We are giving to the Ukrainian refugees when Italy support. And we allow their children to go to the Italian schools, and they also receive allowances. These are my introduction remarks. I would also like to just to inform you that about the latest developments, that the Secretary General of our Foreign Ministry, Ambassador Sigby, has summoned yesterday or 2 days ago, if I'm correct, the Russian ambassador Razov to express Italy's firmest condemnation of the sham referendum, referendums illegally held by the Russian Federation to annex the occupied territories in the Ukrainian regions of Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia. And Italy urged again Russian authorities to revoke these illegal actions because we don't recognize the results of this referendum. And we also condemned this this rhetoric, this threat of Russia of resorting to the use of nuclear weapons, because we see this as a clear, dangerous violation of the principles of the United Nations Charter and of the international rule. And we will continue, therefore, to increase our pressure and to convince, to oblige the Russian Federation to stop the aggression. And we will therefore continue to give our contribution to the continuation of the financial support, the military assistance, and also Italy will continue to contribute to the strengthening of the sanctions regime against Russia. Thanks. I don't know if these are my introductory remarks. If you have a question, feel free. I'm here to respond to your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for your wonderful speech. Thank you. Our students have to ask you a few questions. Let's start. Oksana.
So, Your Excellency, yes, we do have students who have their own questions and they are ready to address to you. So I would like to give the first speech to the Baby Mikola. So Nikita, sorry, over there, and he has his run. So actually that is a bachelor's program student over here.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Ambassador, it's a great pleasure to see you here again. So my question is, since 2014, as well as the start of the full-scale military aggression of the Russian Federation against Ukraine on February 24, 2022, Ukraine and the Ukrainians received a significant political support and logistical assistance from the Italian government. The visits of Italian officials to Kyiv are clear evidence of this. However, I would like to ask you, how exactly ordinary Italians perceive the news about the war in Ukraine? Or did this military aggression of the Russian Federation somehow affect to the daily life of Italian citizens? Thank you so much.
Yeah. Yes, no, thank you very much for your question. Let us say that for the Italian public opinion, the Russian aggression was a shock on the 24th of February. Nobody expected it. And our foreign policy completely changed because there was a almost complete support of the Italian public opinion and of the political parties because they did. And of course, I have also to say now it's 7 months that the war is continuing, and I don't deny that there's always the risk that the people start a little bit to forget about the war because the war is far away, and therefore it is always very important to keep the public opinion updated about what is happening. And let us say, yes, now the Italian families start to be a little bit affected especially by the inflation, by the raising price of energy. You know, we are importing our gas, electricity, bills, and this could be a danger. There's a risk of a war and sanctions fatigue, but I can underline, in my view, the majority of the Italian public opinion fully supports Ukraine, and I think that it will continue to be like this, because the last elections, the political elections which took place on the 25th of September, we've seen the results. Also, the political parties which support the continuation of financial assistance and military aid to it represent the majority of the parliamentary seats which have been acquired by these political parties. Therefore, it will not change in my view. And of course, I have also to say there are some political parties which are not very much convinced about the necessity to continue to provide the military aid. We have a strong tradition in Italy of pacifist movements, but the majority of the parties are in favor of continuing our current foreign policy. Of course, as you know, probably Italy, in the past years, we had strong links with Russia because we had many Italian companies there. There's a tradition of past friendship with Russia, because we had the biggest communist party in the form before that, the collapse of Soviet Union, the biggest Western communist party. We had strong links with Moscow. We had many Italian companies where we imported our gas mainly from Russia. We had big companies like, I don't know if probably you remember, Togliatti Gas, so on. And probably there was in the Italian public opinion not a real knowledge about what was happening after the collapse of Soviet Union. Therefore, you know, what happened now during the latest developments came like a shock. Most Italians didn't expect this. And then we don't have to deny that the Russian disinformation was very, very effective in Italy. But now everything, in my view, has changed. Therefore, just to conclude, I would say that yes, the Italian economy will be a little bit affected by this energy crisis, but not too much. So we are ready to react, and in my view, this will be the last difficult winter for the European countries, because, as you know, almost all European countries have strongly reduced the dependency upon the imports of Russian gas and oil, and it will continue, especially after the sabotage of the Nord Stream 1 and 2. Therefore, I think that Russia has lost its strong grip influence on Western Europe. This is a trend which will continue, in my view. I don't know if you have, if you are satisfied by my reply.
Thank you so much for your answer, Mr. Ambassador. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Ambassador. We do have the next one question, sir, if you do have the better time. So we do have Bernicka Leona, would you please, that is a first-year student, actually. So take the floor.
Good afternoon, Mr. Dzadzo. In June 2022, due to disagreements over Ukraine, there was a significant split in Italian politics, which even led to the withdrawal of a large number of deputies from the party, which previously held the first position in parliament in terms of the number of deputies. Are these events really related to Italy's foreign policy and support for Ukraine, or are they the results of some domestic political change and attitudes? Thank you.
Yes, probably you are referring to the government crisis, which caused the fall of the Draghi's government. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, I can tell you. I don't see. Yes, basically, I think there were some parties. I'm referring mainly to populist parties. Movimento 5 Stelle, 5 Movement Stars, and also Lega and Forza Italia. Some political parties, they had some doubts on the mainly on the continuation of military aid, because they thought it's more important to try to find a dialogue with Russia. Ukraine and Russia should find an agreement, a peace agreement. You know that in Italy we have also strong influence of the Catholic Church, and so our pacifist movements were always very strong in Italy. And besides, there are some deputies and parliamentarians who were worried about the fact that these sanctions could affect negatively the Italian economy. But I have to say that in my view, it was more a struggle between political parties to get more votes. I don't think it was only the situation about the war between Russia and Ukraine which caused this government crisis. There were many other, because there are some political parties, they feared that that if the elections would have taken place next year, they would lose even more votes. And therefore, they decided to anticipate this crisis. The conflict between Russia and Ukraine was one of the reasons of this government, but not the main one, in my view. Therefore, I have to say, and as I told you, the result of these elections haven't really changed the situation, because the new prime minister, she's very Giorgia Meloni, a lady, and Fratelli d'Italia. She has a clear pro-Euro-Atlantic stance. She's in favor of the continuation of full support to Ukraine. And she already had a talk, as you probably have read in the newspapers, with President Zelensky, reiterating the full support Italy in the fight for freedom. Ukraine is because Ukraine is fighting a war for the freedom and democracy, which are European values. Yes. Therefore, now, given the fact that we have also the results of these political elections, we can see that really there will be a continuation of our foreign policy, and probably one of the first countries the new Italian prime minister will visit will be Kiev. Okay.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Ambassador. So I do hope that you do have at least 2 or 3 minutes with them, because we do have one person who is rather eager to have a kind of address to you. Actually, you met this person this summer in Zhytomyr, and for right now, this guy is the very student of our university, our special tenure faculty, and he's very glad just to have this very opportunity to meet you and to have his speech. So, Zelinsky Alexander, would you please take the floor?
Good afternoon, Mr. Ambassador. My name is Alexander, and I'm from Zhytomyr region. Let me personally and on behalf of the residents of our region, thank you very much for your help in rebuilding our infrastructure. We really appreciate your help a lot. Thank you.
Thank Thank you very much. So we do have to give the floor to Inna Kostиря.
Thank you, Mr. Dzadzo, Mr. Ambassador. We are looking forward to meeting you again at our university. Thank you, and victorious Ukraine. Yes. Two-time I'm in Italy, Mr. Ambassador.
Still in Italy, I know. No, I hope that anyway you are enjoying your life in Italy. And now I would like just to say a few words about the reconstruction efforts. I was in Zhytomyr. I met the governor, I met the mayor. We are trying also to, I forgot to say this, that we are trying to stimulate the signing of twinship agreements between Italian cities and Ukrainian counterparts. And we are trying to do this with Zhytomyr, where I also visit two Italian companies which made investments there in blue and Fairplast. And I was very much positively impressed because, as I told you, Italy wants to play an important role in your reconstruction, especially in the sectors of renewable energies, agro-industry, infrastructures, space, and maybe also machinery, the typical sectors where Italy is very strong, like the Made in Italy and so on. In Italy, having the third largest economy in Europe. And by the way, we had also an excellent bilateral relationship at economic level. We are the third largest trading partner of Ukraine among European Union countries after Germany and Poland. Therefore, we would like to maintain this position and try even to strengthen this strong presence here. We would like to increase our investments, to convince our companies to come here and strengthen their presence on Ukrainian territory. Of course, we have to wait for the end of the war. And I would like also to inform you that recently Confindustria, with the Association of the Italian Industries, private industries, they have decided to open an office here in Kiev. This is a very important move, in my view, a very positive one. And therefore, I'm very optimistic that in the years ahead, we will have the opportunity to further strengthen our bilateral relationship in all fields, including in the economic field. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Ambassador, for your wonderful speech, wonderful lesson. Thank you, students.
Okay. And see you soon. I hope not only also live.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you. Good day. Ciao. Arrivederci.
Arrivederci.
Щиро дякую нашому другу, нашому пану послу, амбасадору за змістовну сьогоднішню таку зустріч. Я думаю, що не дивлячись на тяжкі військові складності, які сьогодні є у нашому з вами навчанні, і ми тримаємо освітній фронт, ми отримуємо знання, отримуємо дипломатичні навички, отримуємо співпрацю з міжнародним співтовариством, з лідерами різних держав, тому що пан посол, амбасадор Італії в Україні, який вже другий рік перебуває в своїй дипломатичній місії і потужно співпрацює з студентами нашої кафедри та університету. Щиро дякую вам за зустріч і чекаю вас на наступній лекції.
Дякуємо Інні Олександрівні, що організувала таку чудову зустріч в рамках проєкту «Лідерство та міжнародні комунікації». Ви завжди організовуєте дуже круті івенти, заходи дипломатичного характеру. І ці заходи, зокрема, на які ви запросили студентів та співробітників університету, це концерт філармонії. Сьогоднішня зустріч – це крутий приклад культурної дипломатії. Тому дуже дякую Інні Олександрівні, нашому міжнародному відділу, кафедрі, всім організаторам. Дуже приємна зустріч. І саме головне, наші студенти Інна Олександрівна, як вміло задають запитання англійською мовою, спілкуються, розбираються в сучасних політичних процесах. ми можемо бути спокійніші, дійсно готуємо справжню еліту. Тому дякую вам за організацію такого крутого заходу. Дякую.
Дякую, Володимир Михайлович, дякую. Дякую всім за увагу і до зустрічі. До побачення.